This event is supported by Belcrest Luxury Suites. Located in Abuja, the Nigerian capital, Belcrest Luxury Suites offers affordable accommodation. Our cozy rooms and friendly staff will make you feel right at home. Plus, with our prime location, you'll have easy access to all the best local attractions in town. Rooms start at just 25,000 naira. Find us on travel booking websites such as booking.com or call +234 909 099 4490.
Hello and welcome to the 2023 International Women's Summit. I am thrilled to see each and every one of us here today. This summit is a wonderful opportunity for us to come together, share our experiences, and learn from each other. And to our viewers watching us from around the world, thank you for being with us here today. We have a diverse group of women with different backgrounds, perspectives, and expertise. But we are united by our commitment to making a positive impact in our communities and beyond. Throughout this summit, we will hear from speakers who have achieved remarkable success in various fields, from business and politics to science and the arts. We are here to honor and uplift each other, to recognize the challenges we have overcome, the progress we have made, and most importantly, to inspire each other to keep striving for excellence. Let's get started.
Nancy Abdelhadi is the Director of International Relations for Farco Pharmaceuticals, the largest pharmaceutical group in the Middle East and Africa, and the founder and managing partner for IBIS, International Business and Investment Services. Nancy was born and raised in the United States to Egyptian immigrants. She holds a bachelor's degree in political science and international relations and a master's degree in diplomacy and international relations with a specialization in global negotiation, conflict management, the Middle East region, and international security from Seton Hall University in New Jersey, USA. Nancy is also a Goodwill Global Ambassador and was appointed by the Minister of Tourism to serve as the first Goodwill Tourism and Trade Ambassador for Uganda in the Middle East. She also consults for several private companies, including Mag Trade and Investment, as serves on the board and is the Chief Commercial Officer. She also serves as the Treasurer and a member of the founding executive board of the prestigious Chapter Zero Egypt NGO, which includes some of the top representatives of the leading companies in Egypt, all committed to reducing their carbon emissions and working towards a greener environment.
I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me to participate in such an important event. Joi, thank you so much for organizing such an amazing event and bringing together so many incredible women from different parts of the world as well as from different backgrounds. For this talk, I actually picked an important topic that's very near and dear to my heart. And that topic is talking about the importance of women in promoting intra-African trade. And the reason I picked that topic specifically is because, in general, women play a very important role in all society. But when we talk specifically about Africa and the development of Africa, and specifically with intra-African trade, women play a huge and very important role and will also help lead the future in terms of creating a more stable and economic balanced society. So I wanted to kind of start by, I guess, talking very briefly about what I like to say the difference between equity and equality, only because the topic is, again, very important to me. So equality basically says that each individual or group of people is given the same resources and opportunities, whereas equity recognizes that each person has and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. So in other words, giving everyone equal opportunity to succeed, bearing in mind that, for example, women have different needs than men might. So in that sense, equity. And the reason why I'm saying that or talking about that specifically is because when we talk about intra-African trade, we talk about trade in general in Africa, we see that most of trade in Africa is driven by SMEs, micro and SMEs. And we see that the huge majority or a big portion of SMEs are run by either youth or women. So in this case, women play a huge role. But at the same sense, women, although they play a huge role in driving the economy, they do not earn equal to their male counterparts. So you still have this gender disparity, and you still have this inequality in terms of not just being able to earn a living. And we're talking now not just about women owners, we're talking about even full-time workers, but also in the sense of women having access to resources or funding to even start a business. They don't have the same opportunity as men do. We find women in Africa in many sectors, including the textile and clothing sector, in agriculture and agro-processing, and as well as service industries. Many of us are African women working in the service industry, so we could definitely vouch for how there are many opportunities for us, but there are also many challenges as well. And again, aside from sometimes the gender inequality that we face or the discrimination, we also have the issue of not being afforded the same equal access to loans, funding for our businesses, or even to be able to conduct our business. Now, the UNDP, when I was looking through my on this topic, the UNDP, the World Bank, World Economic Forum, anyone, even a lot of the UN agencies, basically they see the importance of governments investing in women and supporting women, because they identify women as being main drivers in helping Africa's economy to grow. And especially now with the AFCFTA, I can never pronounce it. This also has made many opportunities for traders here in Africa to be able to trade cross-border, to take away some of the issues and challenges when it came to tariffs and customs, to promote and to kind of empower women and different trading companies to work across border, and to actually brand and promote African products. So this is, again, an opportunity, but we have to be aware of the challenges, and we have to figure out how to work together with each other, but also with governments and international organizations to close some of those gender gaps, to help overcome some of those challenges for women, and to be able to really give women this equal opportunity to be able to work and to promote intra-African trade. But we as women have an obligation, because a lot of us are very active, a lot of us are very driven, and so hopefully we will take advantage of the opportunities that are out there to actually help and again drive African economies to the point where we'll be able to look back, hopefully in less than 100 years, which a lot of organizations are saying it will take to actually close the gender gap around the world, to be able to actually have a voice and to really succeed in that. So thank you so much. And again, I wish you guys a beautiful day, and looking all face-to-face very soon. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Nancy. That was wonderful. Women make up a significant portion of Africa's informal traders, and we all play a role, a very crucial role, I would say, in promoting cross-border trade and economic growth within the continent. So this is very insightful, and I thank you for your time. We'll probably get to the question section in the rapid fire segment.
Appreciate it.
Amina is an award-winning TV presenter, talk show host, broadcaster, actor, certified voiceover artist, and seasoned marketing professional. She is the general manager of Rave Television and runs her television show, which airs on various television stations in Nigeria.
Hello, everyone. Good evening from Nigeria, and thank you, Joi, for having women, from various background and culture here. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm happy that it's our month is a Women's Month, and looking at what is happening in our country, Nigeria, now, where women are gradually taking the forefront when it comes to leading policies in our country. However, my focus today will be on how the media can play a vital role in gender equality in Nigeria. Looking at the country right now, you would see that we are still lagging behind when it comes to gender equality, and which I must say is due to culture and tradition. I mean, gender equality is supposed to be everyone, treated fairly. Women doing what men are doing, and vice versa. But for me, I would always say that when we look at gender equality, in the horoscope, you find out that it's not, for me, it's not really about equality, but about fairness and equity. In Nigeria today, we find out, as at the study that was done about in 2020 during COVID, we still find out that Nigeria was still 0.333% behind when it comes to women taking the forefront in a lot of things. And the media in Nigeria today, if you look at most of the TV stations, the online blogs, you'll find out that you actually still have more male in the industry when it comes to media, and that is because of the stereotype that has been placed there. A lot of the time, due to culture, where we're coming from, they tell us, oh, you shouldn't be so bold, you shouldn't talk too much. Women who speak too much, who are always on TV showing themselves, or radio or on the internet, it's possible that you might not be submissive. So there is still that stereotype in our industry. A lot of the time, women are not allowed to get to that, cadre, or to that ceiling. Speaking from my experience, if you allow me share, I studied law, and for many years, I have always said, what, I want to be one of the leading senior advocates of Nigeria. I want to be able to lend my voice to the voiceless, but I found out that it was hard for me. So I did a switch, into the TV industry, which is from film and all that. And we still found out that right there, regardless of your talents, it's practically relegated, to the background. They want your body, they want you to bring something to the table. And I said, but that is not the same thing that the men, go through. So why always go through that? And so along the line, I did studies, did some courses, and I switched, into the media space. And there too, you will find out that there was a lot of, stereotype. But luckily, in recent years, we've seen that some women are beginning to fight their way, to the top. Looking at the fact that the federal government in Nigeria at a point said, what, we're going to have 35% women in the Nigerian cabinet, which is, policy making and all that. So we started having female senators, female CEOs, even the banks right now, they are beginning to do that. And why? That is because some women media executive decided to take it upon themselves to say, what, I'm going to use my platform to ensure that whoever I'm employing, that we held the helms of affairs in my company, must be women, regardless of their background, regardless of where they're coming from. And so we women, that people like us that we're now given opportunities, started using that to advantage to say, what, we're going to use our platform to start to talk, to start to reach out to people. But there's still that, fence, because there's some places you get to, you want to get information so that you can help people, especially in the northern Nigeria, where culture is really, really strong, and you don't see so many, female coming out, in the media space. And that is because you are supposed to be, a subordinate. You're not supposed to, climb up. You're not supposed to be a par, with a man. And so for few of us, in the media space right now, we are beginning to, use the digital platform to say we are going to use that to send messages. But we still have a lot of challenges there. And that is because in far north, I like to use the northern part and so even far eastern part of the country, because they seem to have the largest population in Nigeria. Far north, you find out that they're still lagging behind in terms of technology. And the best way media can play a tool or can play a role in gender equality is when we can reach out to the last woman there in the grassroots, in the fatherland. So most of these issues we have, been experiencing. If we look at it, picking from the concept, you will see that many experts also believe that gender equality across categories, including education, employment, health, politics, economy, participation, is not only a cultural responsibility, but a necessary and crucial part of the healthiest and most optimized economy. And that is why everyone right now, most Nigerians are traveling abroad, especially females, saying that it's more like a women's country where you are allowed to speak. The law is behind you, but on this part is really hard. So most of the time we're actually fighting. We see ourselves fighting daily to ensure that we are able to pass a message out there. Sustainable development goals and other economic targets are often unachievable, I would say, in our country. And this restricts opportunities for a lot of us. So in order for us to have improved gender equality, the government, just like Nancy said, needs to play a big role in it. If you allow me digress a bit, because a lot is happening in my country right now. We're in the middle of election. We have governorship elect, I call her, that was supposed to emerge as an Adamawa State in Nigeria. You could see that there is a lot of, cowing. They're trying to tie her back not to lead, because if that woman becomes the governor of that particular state, Adamawa State in Nigeria, it opens up more opportunities for women to start to say, you know what, if she can do it, I should be able to do it. But right now, the men are not even helping. And so a few media organizations are trying to, speak on our behalf, trying to push and say, oh, a woman can do this, or if she gets, to a governorship position, if she becomes a governor, a lot of girls who believe that their life ends in the kitchen, ends in a man's home, ends in the delivery room will change. And they are really trying to fight that. And it is the government, whether we like it or not, technically, they are fighting it instead of supporting that to have the first Black Nigerian woman who will become a governor. It will be historical, for a lot of us. So we on the media space, we are being hampered because half the time you need funds to do a lot of things. And it is hard to get most of those supports. So, but once we get a tiny support from the government in terms of, saying, okay, we have given these grants, we have given, we have created this sector to say women come in here, media and women in the media come into this space. We are going to support you in terms of funding. The United Nations is doing something, but they can't do it alone. We also need our own governments here in Nigeria. So if that is achieved, it's going to be very difficult for the society to trample on the rights of women, or to not be fair or just in ensuring that women are seen, not as equal now. I would say we are placed a bit at the point of, fairness and equity. What a man can do, a woman can do. And when we start to allow people believe that once you train a woman, empower a woman, you empower an entire community, you've empowered an entire nation, we will find out that the poverty ratio in Nigeria will be reduced, drastically. So media for me is a very strong tool. You can't relegate media to the background, but the media space, the people in the media, especially the women, we can't do it alone if we don't have support, both locally and internationally. And I'm very happy that we're able to create this forum. When Joe reached out to me, I was like, oh my God, this is good. This is good for us, especially at a time in our country where we are trying to really push ourselves, because we're not asking for you to give us opportunity, for the men to give us opportunity. We're saying Just allow us compete in the same space that you're competing. And I believe if we continue to have chats like this, women from different parts of the world would hear us, and they will want to also support our cause in ensuring that there is fairness, and equality in Nigeria, or in the world, I must say. Thank you very much for this platform.
There we go. Thank you so much, Amina, for that. I believe that overall, achieving gender equality in the media requires a multifaceted approach. And this approach would address issues related to representation, pay, harassment, diversity, and more. Now, by working together and creating these spaces that we have today, I believe that we can create a more media-friendly industry that reflects and values the contributions of women. I also want to thank you for highlighting the plight or the issue in Adamawa State surrounding Senator Aisha Binani. We do wish her well in her endeavor. And thank you also for using your platform in Nigeria to highlight women, especially those who are underreported or celebrated in the media. So we'll move on to our next speaker.
Lady Tee Thompson is the principal of the international organization agrobiz.org and founder of Cashew Queens, an emerging social enterprise. In addition to facilitating international economic development, Ms. Thompson facilitates U.S. and foreign investment. Her current roles are co-chair of United Nations Association of the USA Women's Affinity Group and Convention to Eliminate All Forms of Discrimination Against Women Committee and gender equality expert. Thompson has also been recognized by President Obama during Women's History Month for her contributions to doing business in Africa.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Joy. Oh my goodness, I am so honored to contribute to this deliberate dialogue of breaking gender barriers and embracing equity. We all know that the issue of gender inequality has been a persistent challenge throughout human history, with women and girls facing discrimination, bias, and exclusion in a variety in almost virtually every sphere of life. There is nowhere on earth where women and girls can avoid sexist laws, policies, and norms. Nowhere. So, what can we do to break down these gender barriers and embrace equity? It starts with acknowledging that gender inequality is a systemic problem that requires systemic solutions. We need to work together to change cultural attitudes and social norms that perpetuate gender biases and ensure that women and girls have equal access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. Why? Women are the engine of progress. If we do not have access to a bank account, we cannot resolve poverty. And if we are not included in combating climate change, then how could there be climate justice? It is also imperative that women and girls have access to health care in order to move beyond any type of health crises or the era of COVID to build back better for generations to come. Equally, a greater solution, or I like to phrase it, investment, is needed in gender data, particularly in financing and in the quality of how data is aggregated. This is due to the lack of gender-specific data programs and policies because they do not reach the women and girls who they are intended to serve. So we need to invest in that. Let me share a snapshot of today's thematic points on gender barriers and why we need to embrace equity. Simply put, women are half of the world's population. Charles Kettering said it best, a problem half stated is half solved. So my snapshot includes data from both my subjugated experiences, I've been to over 84 countries, and also data from the World Bank. Right now, today, there are 16 countries where women's testimonies don't carry the same evidentiary weight in court as men's. There are 18 countries where women must have their husband's permission to work outside of the home. There are 20 countries that the law exempts perpetrators from rape charges if they marry their survivors. 32 countries have no laws addressing domestic violence. 38 countries, employers can legally dismiss a pregnant worker. And nearly 40% of countries limit women's property rights. In 41 countries, a daughter cannot inherit the same ways as sons. In 50 countries, there is no legal protection against sexual harassment in the workplace. In 66 countries, women do not have the same rights as men to remarry. And more than 70% of women-owned businesses, whether they are small or medium-sized enterprises, they have inadequate or no access to financial services. In 72 countries, women face industry restrictions when looking for jobs. In 98 countries, women are not legally required to be provided equal pay for equal work of equal value. Laws in 108 countries today allow financial institutions to make it harder for women to access loans. And more than 1 billion with the B, women do not have access to financial systems. Gender biases remains a pervasive issue on gender equity in our society. One of the most significant examples of gendered inequity is through the gender bias of the Matilda effect, where women's contributions are often overlooked or attributed to men. This is a clear indication of the systematic or systemic and historical discrimination against women in various fields around the world. Another example of gender bias is maternal bias, where working females with or without children, married or unmarried, are often perceived to be less committed to their jobs than their male counterparts. This bias leads to a lack of career advancement opportunities and the promotion of traditional gender roles. As a gender equity expert, a global goals ambassador, and a role model and mentor, teaching, you and I, and everyone that hears this recording, have a responsibility to break down gender barriers and encourage equity. We must strike to create a culture where everyone has equal opportunity to succeed, regardless of their gender identity. Furthermore, it's critical in the United States to ratify the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. It's called CEDAW. And the ratification is a UN treaty which signifies the commitment to gender equity and the protection of women's rights. It's considered the Global Women's Bill of Rights. So out of the 193 member states, there are 6 countries that have not ratified it. But lastly, we must raise awareness and advocate against gender-based bias. We must speak up and challenge gender stereotypes and discrimination in our daily lives, spanning across women with little or no education, formal education, or to women who are double PhD holders working in every element of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We must hold ourselves and others accountable for promoting gender equity and ensuring that women have equal opportunities in all aspects of life. Women's rights are non-negotiable, and women are the engine of progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lady T. That was a whole lot to unpack. Thank you, as always. I believe that we need more women support organizations. We need to also support each other as we're here to network. Women-owned support organizations play a very critical role in advancing gender equality. And I believe that when we network and put in our effort, we can achieve a more just and equitable society for women and girls around the world. So thank you so much for that, Lady T. And with that, we'll move over to our next speaker.
Omu is a transformational leadership expert who delivers high-energy keynote presentations that challenge audiences to leverage their values and pay attention to what matters most at work and in life. Audiences love her practical strategies they can apply personally and professionally. Omu is passionate about people, leadership, and successful businesses. She is especially inspired to help people take their careers and themselves to unprecedented levels.
Hi everyone, I'm actually excited. I'm a bit in a kind of shock. I've heard so much and there is just so much to unpack. I'd like to approach this issue from the spaces and, we as women and different gender generally, we really can't help but mix. And I find that even up until today, and this is not peculiar to just where I come from, in different places, there's a bias to workspaces, workplaces, work environment, and even some public spaces. So I'm talking today about creating inclusive spaces. And for us to create these inclusive spaces, it requires a lot of intentionality. One of the speakers had mentioned the gender bias being something that we've all a lot of us were born to hear about it. I remember when I was a kid, so I'm talking about many years ago, my mom came back from one of these meetings, International Women's Society kind of meetings, and she was so upset. And what was upsetting her? They were fighting or trying to advocate that women should not cover their faces or should not be made to cover their hair or put on certain things. They should be left to put on their things. And it turns out that the women they were supposedly protecting were the same women who fought them and felt it was okay. So what I'm saying here is this has been a long conversation, and I must give kudos to the women ahead of us who have continually spoken it. I mean, we're coming on board now, and I think it's a lot easier because a lot of people are speaking about it. But at some point, there were women speaking about these things, and they sounded like lone voices in the wilderness. So I give them kudos. Now, when we're talking about inclusive spaces, we're talking about environments where different people and different genders not just are welcome, but actually feel welcome. They're supported and they're valued. So you see, the support and the value is a totally different thing to be welcomed into an environment. But the support and the value is what I find lacking. So you walk into some places, it's amazing. Even in this century, you walk into some airports, and the fact that you're a woman, it's short of saying stand on another line, or but you all traveled on the same plane, you all bought the same ticket, probably the same price or higher, but the ticket wasn't sold with gender into consideration. So we all paid, and then we land at places like a public place, and you're wondering, and where I'm going to stand or how I'm going to be treated is dependent on whether I'm a man or a woman. I've had a situation where I was traveling and the immigration officer in one of the airports asked me if I had my husband's permission to travel. And I mean, it was my first time. And I actually said no. I don't. So what are you going to do about it? You know, you wouldn't ask my husband if he had my permission to travel, and I don't know how that is your business. So having these spaces inclusive and supportive and giving women value. And when we talk about not just women, different genders, I mean, whatever you decide to call yourself, I think also that it needs a lot of education. So, like I said, a lot of things have been said about it. And trust me, the people that should know cannot deny that they haven't heard. Um, there should also be some level of training for the people involved. Now, I might be the devil's advocate, but I also think that we as women need to train ourselves because a lot of us have been brought up like that. Generations before us have been brought up like that. And even when you have started to see something wrong in it, it has become a belief system that you need to intentionally fight. So a lot of us here, I mean, 9 chances out of 10, all of us on this panel at some point had to break that bias of you are not meant to be heard, you're meant to just be seen. We must have walked through breaking the bias of being bold and speaking up for us to be here in the first place. So now think of the millions of women who honestly want to be in this position, and they probably have gotten past they probably have gotten to that point where they can, but mentally they still need help to help themselves out of it, because this is where they have found themselves for years and it has become an inherent belief. So I think that training and not just advocacy, because we can speak and speak. So a woman listens to this, she wants to speak out, she wants to voice out. What next? She needs help and she needs some sort of assistance. Now, I also believe that in the different areas and different offices and different corporations, and even in our own little sphere, we need to conduct some sort of gender equity audit. And it's all about intentionality. I believe that a lot of people are willing to change, but they've been in that position for so long, it has become normal. And until somebody points out to them that this is abnormal, it would never cross their minds. So a lot of places need to conduct a gender equity audit. Audit the place, check the policies. Some companies and some corporations have not changed their policies for donkey years. They might have changed their individual beliefs, but the policy remains there. So these policies need to be checked. Procedures need to be checked. Practices need to be checked. One of the speakers talked about promotion and in the companies. You would be surprised that someone has started work and has picked a document that was written in 1970 something or 1980 something and is still working based on that document. Some of those things need to be checked. Some of those practices need to be changed, and the areas identified. In doing this, they're reviewing, it will give them an opportunity to review their hiring policies, because these policies need to be put in place. They'll review their hiring policies, they'll review their performance evaluation, they'll review their compensation structures and their employee benefits. Just like one of the speakers mentioned about the salary and all that. All those things would come in place when they actually sit on a table and do this audit and pick out these things. I'm happy that a lot of women are occupying major leadership positions. So the chances of having women speak up in these rooms would be very, very helpful. Also, for the longest time, I fought with this, and that is gender neutral language. For starters, I still want to understand why in some places you have you're filling forms and they want to know whether you're Mr., Miss, Mrs. In some situations, it might be necessary, But there's some situations where you're filling these forms and you're wondering, why do you need to know whether I'm a man or a woman? There's a new habit, speaking about my sister who is who is in the media. Suddenly in the media, they are having calling lines and they say this line is for men and this line is for women. And we're talking about the same thing. And I'm wondering, why do I have a different opinion? Or is it easier to get in one line and not get the other? But little things like this, first of all, they're triggers. And secondly, they send the wrong message. So we need to be careful about the message that we're sending in. And then our resources, we should try and provide gender specific resources when it's important in the workplace. Finally, so that I don't take too much of your time, one strategy that I hold so close to my heart is allyship. And even while we're here, we're forming an ally. We need to foster that culture of allyship. If we look at the history of this gender equality and all that, you would see that we started making progress when women started supporting each other more. And the stronger we form these allies and create the culture of allyship, we would be able to lend our voices and would also be able to encourage other women or other people under like a minority gender to come forward and be bold and speak, and to also get involved, because a lot of people, if we had more people getting involved, then it would make a whole load of difference. So what it is if we finish talking about this and some lady is not able to speak up in her office and she thinks that she deserves whatever she's being doled out, there's nobody who's going to speak out for her. Nobody's going to love you more than you love yourself. So in conclusion, I just think that every woman just needs to form an ally and support each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Omu. Thank you. I shuddered listening to your encounter with the man at the airport who questioned if you had your husband's permission to travel. But sadly, that is the world we live in. And I believe holding these spaces will highlight or amplify the voices of women and girls going through a similar situation around the world. I would also add that building communities that embrace gender diversity requires ongoing commitment, boots on ground. But I will also add that it won't be easy. It's going to involve challenging existing social norms and cultural attitudes that perpetuate gender inequality. But we will continue the fight. We will continue till our voices are heard. Thank you for that contribution, Omo. Appreciate it.
Sandrine Nzeukou is founder and CEO of TESSA. She has developed and led ecosystem building initiatives of business development, investment, innovation, and social impact, all in the finance industry. Sandrine's passion lies in the revolutionary potential of the continent, and her work has supported Invest Africa US over $3 billion worth of capital flow into the continent. A former professional athlete, Sandrine represented her home country in the 2011 and 2015 FIBA Olympic qualifying women's basketball tournaments in both Mali and Cameroon, and served as an ambassador for the Cameroon Basketball Federation. She holds an MBA in management and BS in marketing from University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Good to go. Hello, everyone. My name is Sandrine Nzeukou. I am the founder and CEO of a sports media business that is focused on building the sports industry across the African continent. It's called TESSA, and I'm so fortunate to be able to speak to you all today. I think that first and foremost, to be able to convene and be in community with women is so incredibly important. So Joi, thank you so much for organizing this and creating the space for us to be able to actually have conversation and move the energy forward and make progress. What I wanted to discuss today has everything to do with what I believe to be the root of a lot of this gender equality and oppression really in general, which is the power of the mind, what happens specifically in your mind, the power of meditation, in order to be able to access your higher versions of yourself in order to make progress. I was really fortunate to be able to play for the national women's basketball team of Cameroon a couple of times in my life, and it was such an incredible experience. And for those of you that have had exposure to sports, or have kids or siblings that have played in sports, you likely also know that in a really beautiful way, sports almost acts as a microcosm for life. And in the most interesting way, it also allows you to learn specifically about the importance of preparation. And in order to tackle any challenge, in order to face anything, there's a level of preparation. And I believe that preparation also not also only includes, but the foundation of that preparation should be what happens in your mind, the way that you speak to yourself, the way that you digest the stories and the narratives about who other people or society or systems tells us as women who we are. And as I've been able to evolve, not only from the sports industry or sports world as an athlete into being a business leader, I feel that it's even that much more important to be able to practice and access the tool that is truly accessible to everyone, of being able to really reflect and not necessarily clear your mind, because that's not the purpose of meditation, but be able to create space. The name of my company is Tessa. It is derived from the word Teresa, and Teresa is a Greek word that means harvest. And it made me really think about when I see people farm, we all see people, who have farmed. And I think about my grandma, for example, in the village, and she walks around, and when she's harvesting, she's holding a vessel, she's holding a basket. Now, if that basket was full, unfortunately, as she goes to harvest all of the produce that she's grown, there wouldn't be any space. And so that's the way that I think of our minds. Our minds are vessels. There's only a certain amount of people, ideas, content that we can consume and really digest and hold on to. And what I believe is that in this day and age, unfortunately, many of us are functioning from a place of where we're full. We feel full. We're concerned about the stresses of life. But as women, if you were to compare the average man's vessel versus the average woman's vessel, there's a number of things that we have to be concerned, stressed about, that really weigh on our shoulders because of the way that society is set up currently. And so I don't even think that it's necessarily important that we do. I think that it's critical that through the practice of meditation, through the practice of being able to sit with yourself in silence, to be able to allow your mind to do what it does, to wipe away what is not important, to be able to process things, is incredibly important, because it's your tool to be able to gain access and to be able to clear more space for what it is that you want to harvest. And so when we're talking about gender equality, the work that is free, the work that is always accessible, and the work that we have to do, I believe first starts in our minds. We have been conditioned through cultural norms, through institutionalized systems, that we don't have access to the same resources, we don't have access to the same ideas, or time or capital. And unfortunately, a lot of those ideals are things that have been subconsciously embedded within us. And in order for us to be able to maximize and to be able to make meaningful progress, it's incredibly important that we make space and room for that. Meditation is not something that is about completely blanking out your mind. It's simply just about being in the present moment and focusing on one thing. And so that one thing generally is just focusing on your breath, and you can choose to do it for however long it is that you like. It's a practice that, I've come to develop over the past several years, and it's really transformed the way that I run my business. I'm able to attack it from a place of stability, a place of clarity, rather than being bogged with all of the things that challenge us as women. And I'm a single woman with no kids, so I can't even imagine all of the challenges and the additional things that really that other women have to face. And so I really, really implore everybody to practice meditation, even if it's for 1 minute a day. That in and of itself is incredible, just to be able to give your space, your mind, that time. So I hope that you guys take that away with you. The work, of course, I believe in being able to control what it is that we can control, and that's something that we always have access to, and is going to provide us the space with which we can move forward and create true progress. And a little bit separate to that, because I know, Joy, there's a question at the end, and unfortunately I'm in between locations and here in Texas celebrating a good friend. But there's a question at the end that was talking about the ways in which men can support us. I believe, and other people may not, but I think at the end of the day, there's only one answer for me, and that's capital. Money is power in this society, and it's tremendously powerful, just like reparations for the Black community and the African American community in the United States. There has to be some form of reparations also in order for people to be able to heal. And so for women, there has to be a redistribution of capital, because what that also means directly is that there's a redistribution of power. And unfortunately, to me, it all comes back down to that one thing. And so hopefully that's a shift that we can start to see, that a lot more men can take, not only simply because it's the right thing to do, but also because we all know the statistics about how much more successful diverse teams are, and businesses and leadership teams that include women and really allow women to flourish and to thrive. So it makes sense financially as well. Yes. And then the last thing that I wanted to say and really, leave with you guys is that what I've come to understand is that people do not oppress things or people who they are not threatened by. I am not creating a system or an organization to stop ants from existing, right? To really impose on the way that ants live their life, because ants don't threaten me. They are free to do whatever it is that they do, right? They're part of the ecosystem. And so I just think it's an important reminder that at the foundation of oppression is threat. And what that means is that they recognize the power in us, even more so than we perhaps recognize the power in us. And so I pray, and I really am hopeful that we as women can truly start to embody and digest the power that really exists within us, and that we can use that as a source of energy, as a source of strength in order to carry us forward in the society that has yet, that truly does appreciate us more than we know, because unfortunately they've created systems to try to diminish our power. But time and time and again, we rise, and I'm excited to see what more can come from this conversation. And thank you, everyone, for all of your incredible commentary. Thank you for having me, Joy.
Thank you, Sandrine. That was amazing. And I think I'd like to start by giving you your flowers for the work you do with Tessa, and also your commitment to helping young girls in underserved areas in Africa to have access to sports. In talking about medication, I think it's a very powerful tool that we as women can use to improve our health overall. Maybe I'll get you to walk me through that, and let's have a session with that. If I have to come with my yoga mat, I think Anya is. Oops, sorry. I think Anya is also. We're talking about yoga as well, so I think I'm going to look into that. So when you're back this way, we should, talk about meditation and how to get started. But yes, absolutely. Now, with regards to women in sports, having worked with women in sports and athletes, I know that women are not always fairly treated, but thankfully there are some men as allies that are actually helping to change the narrative. I can speak for the Nigeria Basketball Federation. I know that they are making effort in having that fair treatment for the female athletes as well. We also want to look at limited funding that the ladies have. Sometimes athletes don't have the same amount for training that their male counterparts do. So there are so many issues, especially in sports, and it's really sad that a woman's athletic ability is questioned. So these are the things that we should change. These are the things that I would love to see change, and I'm really thankful for outlets like you and you using Tether as a platform. I believe that we have a lot to achieve through that. Thank you so much, Sandrine, and we'll speak on meditation later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Ms. Yankova has 15 years of professional experience working for the Mayor's Office of Baltimore, the Office of the Secretary of State, and private sector. As Director of International Affairs at the Office of the Secretary of State, Anna managed statewide Sister States program that promoted public diplomacy and global business collaboration. In this capacity, Anna also served as the Diplomatic Protocol Officer for the state of Maryland. Anna is very passionate about foreign affairs, LGBTQ, minorities, and women's rights. Now, during the tragic full-scale war in Ukraine, Anna collects humanitarian aid and funds to help soldiers and people affected by the war and sends it to Ukraine through Ukrainian St. Andrew's Ukrainian Orthodox Cathedral in Silver Spring and St. Michael's Ukrainian Catholic Church in Baltimore.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you see my presentation? Okay. Thank you so much, Joy. Good afternoon, Joy. Dear ladies, our guests, it is my true honor to be here today and represent the Ukrainian American community. And today I would like to talk to you about the great and amazing work we've been doing together with another strong Ukrainian women to help the crisis in Ukraine and to help everybody who was affected by war. As you know, the tragedy came to our motherland on February 24th, 2022 at 5 a.m. when Russia started a full-scale war in Ukraine. It invaded our country from the east and started bombing cities, residential areas with no mercy. And the immediate response from the community, not only in the US, but all over the world, Ukrainian Americans, Ukrainian British, everybody, all the Ukrainian immigrant communities living abroad, they raised and they started to participate in demonstrations, rallies, in support of those who were affected by the war in Ukraine. And we had a huge rally in Washington, D.C. in front of the White House. As you can see, we had tens of thousands of people who came, even like people from Georgian community, from Slovakian community, they came to support us. People from all over the eastern coast of the United States, Ukrainians, they were bused here to Washington, D.C. To protest against the war in Ukraine. And you can see it, that's the picture that I took last year when I was part of this demonstration, lots of people. And also locally, I live in Baltimore, Maryland, so locally we had a lot of events and we've been having those events for the past year. As you can see, Governor Hogan, who was the governor last year, he took an active part in supporting Ukraine. So he attended the Ukrainian St. Michael's Catholic Church last year and prayed with the community to stop the war in Ukraine. You can also see on the picture to your right that he held the vigil on the steps of the State House to pray for Ukraine. And you can see a picture of me and my friend also at the demonstration. So we've been consistently active since the beginning of the war. And now a little bit about the local outreach. I would like to talk about nonprofit organizations that are very active in the DMV area. They are United Help Ukraine and Razom. It's two large nonprofit organizations that have been very active, not only since last year, but since the 2014, the annexation of Crimea and the war in Donbas region. Also, St. Michael's Orthodox Church in Baltimore, St. Andrew's Orthodox Church in Silver Spring, St. Michael's Catholic Church in Baltimore, and Odessa, Baltimore Sister Cities Committee. So these organizations and churches have been extremely active in supporting those affected by the war. So now, step by step, United Help Ukraine and Razom, what they do, they provide aid for defenders. They collect money to purchase different items necessary for the soldiers, such as sleeping bags, helmets, gloves, medical aid for the wounded, humanitarian aid for people affected by war. Also, they organized a Smuha project, which means the path in Ukrainian, and that's project that helps people who were mentally, who had a trauma, psychological trauma, children and families who were psychologically hurt by the war. So they provide specialists and centers that can help people, children and families separated or hurt by the war. They have psychological specialists who can address those issues. Also, those two organizations are raising awareness every single day through rallies, events, different fundraisers, not only in Washington, D.C., but like Razom, it's a national organization. They do a lot of events on the West Coast, in New York, in Chicago. And also, a very important item is advocacy for Ukraine. Razom is organizing the lobbying on the Hill. Almost every month, they go out there and they advocate for the bills that support Ukraine, such as humanitarian aid, military equipment aid, and such. So very important actions. Also, I mentioned St. Andrew's Ukrainian Orthodox Cathedral that's in Silver Spring. And they turned their community room to humanitarian center when the war started, because they had a huge response from the Ukrainian community in Maryland, DMV area. People were bringing humanitarian items to their center. And their volunteers have been working 24/7, pretty much packing those items and shipping to Ukraine. So the bus takes those items to New York, and then there's a ship that takes these items once a week. I believe on Wednesday, they take it to Ukraine by sea. They've been organizing festivals and Ukrainian fundraisers to help raise funds for Ukraine, to help refugees, to help kids, to help everybody who was hurt during this tragedy. And because I'm local in Baltimore and I represent the Baltimore Ukrainian activists, I want to talk about Baltimore outreach. As I mentioned, we have two churches here, one Catholic and one Orthodox. Both are St. Michael. So they've been doing a lot of fundraising through festivals, pierogi sale, to raise funds to help those affected by the war all over Ukraine. And their work has been ongoing since the day one. And here you see a couple of pictures of us participating in different Ukrainian events in our churches, and our governor, newly elected governor, Wes Moore, he's been very supportive of Ukraine and Ukrainian community since day one. During his campaign, he attended a Ukrainian church for Easter last year. And then after the elections, you can see it on the pictures, he attended the church for Orthodox Christmas to show his support of Ukraine and Ukrainian community. So it's very good that we have great administration that's behind us. And another important organization that has been in existence since 1976 is Odessa Baltimore Sister City Committee. So they've been very active in helping Ukraine, particularly the southern region, because Odessa is on the Black Sea on the south. I'm from Odessa, so I've been actively involved with them. And the chair of Odessa Baltimore Sister City Committee has been to Ukraine twice since the beginning of the war, and she helped to organize the communication between the mayor of Odessa and mayor of Baltimore. And they've been developing different projects on assistance to Odessa and southern region of Ukraine. That's all I have. And here I left a couple of links about all the organizations that I mentioned. So feel free to check those links, donate or participate. Or if you have any questions, I also left my email here. I'll be happy to talk to you about any issues related to Ukraine or how you can get involved. So thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much for that and for sharing about the organizations that are working to help out Ukraine at this time. Our thoughts and prayers are with the good people of Ukraine, and we hope that this too shall pass in no time. But I do have a question for you. How do you think that Ukraine compares to other countries in terms of gender equality and women's rights prior to this war, of course?
Well, when I was growing up in Ukraine, I also always heard things like that because I played basketball. I played basketball for my school, and people, and I love being part of the team. And I was invited to play for my city, which was huge. I was very excited, and what I would hear back from men and even like men in my family, that it's not a women kind of sport. You should be feminine. You shouldn't be playing basketball. And it was so shocking to me because I was like, I'm good at it. I love playing basketball. Why should I choose? And why should be gender divided? So that thing I heard growing up. Also in the choice of education and profession, I heard many times that you should choose a woman or female type education or profession. And me, as a growing up, it was shocking because I was always a critical thinker, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, why does an education or profession has to be gender divided, and why do I have to choose? I want to do what I love to do, what I'm good.
What do they consider? What do they consider women type of feminine education?
Like philology, for example, or being a teacher. So that was when I was growing up 20 years ago. But now the situation has changed tremendously. Before the war, women have been more proactive in their choice, and now there are a lot of women who are in charge of big corporations, or women who are in charge of like medical hospitals. Women are, as I said, the situation luckily for us has changed because I think ability to travel abroad and see how women in Western countries can get education, be developed. Like it gave us an access to learn, and also through the means of public diplomacy, because there've been a lot of exchanges, government to government educational exchanges between Ukraine and other Western countries and the United States. So I guess women learn from their Western counterparts. And now, as I said, the situation has changed, and women have been doing great in leadership positions before the war. And now during the war, I think women are real heroes because a lot of them joined the military. A lot of them are on the front lines helping as medical nurses, or helping in the humanitarian centers, fighting along with the soldiers, or feeding refugees, helping children. So it really shows strength and resilience of Ukrainian women. And I think women will be the key component in winning this war. I truly believe, because of the strength of the love for their motherland and support that they're giving to our country.
Absolutely. I recall at the last summit we saw beauty queens trade their crowns for refunds just to defend their country, and that was fascinating to see. So I do applaud the resilience of the women of Ukraine and other women in war-torn countries that we don't even get to hear about here in the Western world. So thank you for sharing your perspective on that, and we'll move on to the next speaker. Thank you, Anya.
Dr. Lulu, a Nigerian-born former lieutenant colonel, is a board-certified pediatrician, 3-time TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and mother of a transgender young adult. She is CEO of Dr.Lulu's Life Coaching Lounge and advocates for LGBTQ plus youth and their families with a focus on youth suicide prevention.
Hi everyone, thank you so much, Joy, for the opportunity. I want to start by reading something that I thought just really touched my heart this afternoon. Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. And to that, I want to add, may we fight for them. Because one of the things that some of the speakers have talked about today is the need for women to fight for women. A lot of times, one of the mistakes that people make is when you go to a place that you want to fight for women equity, you see women fighting against you. I mean, it's what I call the Karenization of America, where we have women, full-blooded, red-blooded human beings, aka white women. I'm just going to come out and say it because I'll call it a thing all day, not fighting for Black women. So women, may we also fight for them. May we fight for us. May we fight for each other, which is what we're doing here this afternoon. So good afternoon, me llamo Dr.Lulu. Yes, I'm a pediatrician, life coach. I work specifically with parents of a very unique population, the LGBTQ population. When you come to this world right now, people don't want LGBT people to even breathe. But guess what? Some of them are women. They are our daughters. They are our sisters. They are our friends. They are us. I am a queer woman. And so I want to talk to you about the intersectionality of the Black, African, queer, single mother, physician, mom of a transgender woman. That's me. So a lot of times when we're thinking about equity and equality, which is of course the theme of this year's International Women's Month is embracing equity. I like to define equity as, or rather, let's start with equality. Equality is giving everybody a shirt. But equity is giving everyone a shirt that fits. A shirt that fits. I happen to be an immigrant woman. I say that with my full chest, as they say in Nigeria. I'm unapologetically an immigrant. One of the speakers today mentioned that some of the women in Nigeria, and maybe in other countries, travel abroad or travel to other countries because maybe they feel that there is a greener pasture there. I'm here to tell you that as a Black immigrant woman who happens to have a very nice Nigerian accent, which I'm very proud of, the grass is not greener, sister. You have to, unfortunately, water the grass where you're standing. That's how it's going to get greener. Water the grass where you are. That's where it's going to get greener. In America, I happen to be 2% of the population in the sense that I'm a Black female physician. That's only 2% of doctors are female physicians that are Black. Then I'm a Black female immigrant physician. That's 0.2%. No one talks about the immigrant woman. It's like she doesn't exist. Everybody would take, like we say in Nigeria, before the immigrant woman is even called to the table. And so some of us have learned how to go into the boxing ring, build up our muscles, build our tables, kick down the doors, and then bring our chairs along with us. So sisters, if you can hear me, and the brothers out there who are our allies, I want to tell you that it is time to rise up and claim your space. No time for apologies. We cannot apologize anymore. Some of the Chibok girls are still missing today in a country where, if that was America, it will not happen. We live in a country where the president in Nigeria, because as far as I'm concerned, wherever I am is Nigeria. The president of Nigeria, the sitting president, at least before the new one, maybe not, used the other room to describe where his wife is. The other room, which means women are relegated to not where people are, not where decisions are being made. Yesterday on LinkedIn, I saw a post that made my heart melt. The 4 happiest countries in the world have women as their presidents. And we're still fighting to get a female vice president in America. We managed to get. So my sisters, America, at least from my own perspective, is not necessarily better. I want to talk about intersectionality. Intersectionality are the social factors that either give you privilege or, in my case, and people like me, give you discrimination. Yes, I'm a physician, so in some spaces, I might even have a little bit of a privilege because I happen to be a doctor. But when it comes into the doctor space, I don't have any kind of privileges because I'm a Black female physician. Recently, I think it was Delta Airlines, told a friend of mine who happens to be a physician that her outfit was not right. She should not wear that kind of outfit on the plane. Why? Because she's Black. What was she wearing? A halter top and a pair of shorts going on vacation in a country where if a white woman the same age, the same status was wearing the same outfit, nobody will say anything to them. So it is time for us to stop playing small. Time to start playing big. It is our right. It is our birthright, women. Thank you so much for this space where powerful women have come and spoken. I couldn't think of what to really talk about. I said, let me just come and share my story. I am that girl. I was that girl whose father said, you want to be an architect? That's a masculine job. Why don't you do something more feminine like pharmacy? I said, what is pharmacy? My daddy said, yes, your cousin is a pharmacist. I said, my cousin is a pharmacist, but I don't want to be a pharmacist. Instead of being a pharmacist, I'll become a doctor. The point I'm trying to make is I had to tell my dad, I said, no, I don't want to be a pharmacist because I don't want to be a pharmacist. I want to be an architect. And if I'm not going to be an architect, then I'm going to be a physician. My mumu stopped that day when I saw I could tell my dad, no, we're not raised as women, whichever country we are, to speak up for ourselves. So may we fight for them. May we be the women who are out there showing an example of what is possible. This is what is possible. Charting your own path. Nobody's going to come and say, Dr.Lulu, do it this way, do it that way. No one is going to do that. You have to know that you are capable and that you are enough, and then kick down the doors. But you have to first dream it, and that's what they're afraid of. Let me tell you, the mediocre white man is afraid of 2 or 3 Black women gathered together because right there they know that there's power. Or women of color, because there are Asian women also doing things bigly. I just came from the walk for Cesar Chavez today. Today's Cesar Chavez Memorial Day in San Antonio where I live. That's where I'm coming from. That's why I had my face cap on earlier on. Because I went for a walk and somebody called me yesterday and said, we need you there. We need your voice there. That is how you make a name for yourself. Nobody called me because I was playing small. They called me because they figured that I was one of 2 Nigerians at a march by mostly Latinx people. But we have to show representation. We have to kick down this. We have to go there. I was interviewed today and they said, why are you here? I said, why am I here? Cesar Chavez fought for people to have better treatment as laborers, better treatment in labor, better treatment at work. That is who I am. I have to come and show representation. There were women there today talking. There were women that were thanking me for showing up. I said, it's the barest minimum that I can do. We're all in this together. Yes, I'm not Hispanic, but I represent my father, Nigeria, my children, and myself wherever I go, and other Black women who maybe do not have the opportunity to do that. So thank you again, Joy, for creating a space where women can come and be themselves and speak up finally and take no as the springboard, because a lot of times we don't like to hear no. But no means next opportunity. So tell me all the no's. In fact, I need you to tell me no. The more no you tell me, the more I'm likely to succeed. The more I fail, the more I succeed. So I want to embrace failure in the sense that failure is my launch pad. I want you, if you can hear my voice today, failure should be you should want failure. You should be begging for failure so you can go back to the drawing boards and get that much better. We have so many women that we stand on their shoulders. Women who behave do not make history. Rosa Parks did not behave. She did not behave. That's why she made history. I think we also had a little video today that showed Michelle Obama. She didn't behave. That's why she made history. Malala, she didn't behave. That's why she made history. And if we don't listen to history, it will end up repeating itself. That's why we see in America today, in 2023, a sitting governor saying that we should not discuss critical race theory. We should not discuss slavery because they are afraid of what they have done, that their children might know what they have done. It is people like us, Black women, who will refuse to be silenced. We are the ones that are going to kick down the doors. We are the ones that are going to make a difference. We are the reason for the fight. So we have to keep on fighting. So thank you so much, Joy. So let us continue to fight. Let us continue to take no for an answer. Let us take no for an answer, because no means next one. No means next opportunity. I don't like to mention her name. I'm not going to mention her name. But she wrote the book about the wizard. Everybody knows Harry Potter. I don't like to mention her name because she's a TERF. She's a hater of trans women, and I'm a lover of trans women. My child is transgender. So I'm not going to say her name, but she was told no 31 times. If she had listened the first 3 times, she would have not had her books out today. Thomas Edison, who discovered electricity, he got 10,000 no's. But for him, he thought every time he got a no, he was like, yes, thank God. So I can go back to the drawing boards and refine my work. So women, let us get up, let us stand up, let us accept no as a launch pad. Let us embrace failure as a launch pad. We are here and we're not going anywhere. So thank you so much again, Joy, for this opportunity to talk about how I am wearing a shirt today that fits. That is equity. That is equity. And how if I don't have a shirt that fits, I'll go and find the shirt that fits. So we should also remember that we can support ourselves. We can make ourselves that much better if we just believe. That's what the good book says. If we just believe. So may we fight for them. May we be allies who believe in rolling up your sleeves and doing the dirty work, because allyship is a doing word. It's not a spectator sport. It's a doing word. So men know, women know, in between genders or gender fluids or transgender, all of us, we need all of us to get the job done. Because guess what? Today they're going to come for women. Tomorrow they're going to come for something else. That is the power of intersectionality. That is the power of knowing that I represent all those spaces, and therefore I must fight so that when I die, I'll be remembered that I did not take that no as a failure. Rather, I took it as a launch pad. And so thank you again, Joy, for the opportunity to come here today and just do my thing. And thank you to all the other speakers. Y'all have been amazing. Just keep on shining. Your light is bright. I see all of you ladies today. Thank you so much, Joy.
It's always good to have you, Dr. Lulu. But before we let you go, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
What advice do you have for young people in our society who are struggling with their own identity and also facing discrimination or prejudice based on their gender or sexual orientation? I'll also add that in the news last week, Uganda outlawed the LGBT. You cannot identify as LGBT in Uganda. So what advice do you have for the young ones who are struggling around the world?
The truth is, unfortunately, there will always be spoils of war. There will always be some people who will be affected by laws fatally, for lack of a better word. I live in a state called Texas. It's not necessarily legal to be gay here. It's not necessarily legal to be transgender here. I know some people think that, oh, Uganda has done this terrible thing. If it's not Uganda, it's Nigeria. It's going to be somebody somewhere. It's going to take what America is doing to the next level, and that's what Uganda has done. Uganda has now taken what America has been doing on a small level to the next level. So to the queer people in Uganda, you know yourself. Be strong. Look in the mirror. The person in the mirror is the only person that can set you free. Once upon upon a time before we had this underground railroad in America, there were slaves who were being sold every day for 5 pennies on the dollar. They were not even supposed to be treated as human beings. That happened. That is history. So what is happening to you today is part of history. To me, I feel like not that it's a good thing that it happened, but it's important that it happened so that people can see how far ignorance can go, how far bigotry can go, how far people can wield their power. Because it's a power play. Because the truth is, somebody being queer or LGBT truly doesn't affect somebody else's rights. But people want to show that they have power, so they want to encroach in other people's power. They want to encroach in other people's rights. So I say to you today, if you're a parent of an LGBT child, first and foremost, see your child as a person. That makes a huge difference to your child. And if you're an LGBT person yourself, remember, you are the most important person in your life. If it means laying low, lay low, regroup, vote, vote people out. We live in a country now where states like Florida, Ohio, Texas, they are doing things. 2 days ago, a senator in Tennessee asked for them to bring back lynching and hanging. Who do you think is asking for that for? It's not the white people, it's the black people, it's the LGBT, it's going to be somebody. So exercise your rights. Vote for the countries where voting works. If you cannot vote, find people like you, find your tribe, get together, regroup, find a way to get out if you can. I don't know what happens in Uganda, but I'm not saying Uganda is just a prototype, because guess what? That thing in Uganda is happening on a small level here in Texas. Somebody called the police on my kids while they were exercising in the neighborhood. Nowhere is safe, and my kids are just regular children. They're just exercising in the neighborhood. So we're not safe anywhere until all of us are safe. We're not free anywhere until all of us are free. We just have to keep fighting. Don't lose hope. Oh my goodness, do not lose hope. Because once you lose hope, then they have won. So hold tight, hang tight, look in the mirror, tell the person there that they are strong, and believe it. Find ways to believe that you're strong. Hopefully this law will not last too long or become the norm, because I know a country like Nigeria likes to copy. Before you know it, Nigeria is going to copy that. They have things that they have to worry about, but they're going to leave that and worry about people who are literally being themselves. It's a terrible thing. I wish I had the answer for that, but all I can say is just look in the mirror and just tell the person there that you got this, and then keep on trucking one foot after the other.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lulu. I appreciate your time and your contribution. It's always a pleasure to listen to you. Thank
You're very welcome. Thank you for doing this again. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
At this point, I'm going to invite Mr. Hassan El-Meligy. I hope I got that right. He is an ally and would like to hear his thoughts briefly.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, we can hear you. Thank you. You've been with us all through. What are the takeaways from this summit? Well, first of all, I think let's start by having you introduce yourself to the ladies here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be between all of you. I have to start very fast because I know the time. I am not a woman, of course. I don't like to say I'm a man, because I think we are all equal. But I cannot put myself in your shoes. I know how what have been said, how it feels. But I will give you, first of all, a quick introduction. My name is Hassan, and I've been working with NGOs and donor projects that are supporting actually women, such in two main areas, like girl-based violence and women-based violence against women and so forth. The other one, which I was interested in, is all this related to what you have been saying, gender, climate change, and disaster rapid market assessment that are related, focusing mainly in women. During, this is a quick one, during a disaster like tsunami, they found out like more than 50 women that had been saved, or the rest which were not saved cannot swim actually. So men can swim after a disaster like tsunami. I'm talking about swimming, unlike earthquake. Earthquake is manageable differently, but tsunami causes, like, everyone is going to swim, even in the streets. So they found out that women cannot swim because of the relation with the husband. So he does not allow or the family itself, they don't allow the female to swim rather than to maybe do some services, home services or touristic service, but she still cannot swim and she cannot obtain also the money of the service. So in areas like in Asia, they work but they cannot swim, they don't have support, the money is given to the men. And when this incident happened, these numbers were very big, so they had to do rapid market assessment in order to supply women with needed necessity. Consequently, what happened afterwards that the women did not have money because the money was with the husband or with the family. So they could not actually find most members of the family or the husband. So they relied on themselves while they don't have money. It created other social problems like even sexual abuse after the incident and many other problems. So I would like to thank Nancy for involving me here, which is very interested. I'm very happy actually to talk to you or you listen to me. And I don't know how much this related to your gathering, but I know that it is related. I'm just asking it is related or not directly. Meanwhile, I was asking in the beginning, what are the recommendations or action plans, short-term term and long and strategically, that women can take in Africa? I've been around Africa and I've seen many examples. And I've seen actually nice poor example. I'm not saying poor from the money point of view, but I have seen a not shoemaker, a shoe cleaner, let's say so. I mean, I'm proud of these jobs. A small female in the streets of Africa, not necessarily were, that cleaning a man's shoes. It looks contradictory, but usually in Egypt we have the other way around. Like men is cleaning men's shoes, and women, I don't know where they clean their shoes. Maybe they do them by themselves. So there must be something related to what you have seen, you have said. So let's find out how we can help all together in order to solve this equity and equality issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for lending your voice, and we hope to connect with you in no distant time. We definitely will have a gathering and involve more men who are working as allies to help women achieve gender equality. Thank you for your time, Mr. Hassan.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank
you. I'm happy to join this inspiring gathering. My name is Amir Mohssen. I'm from Egypt, and I work as a business development consultant. I'm working with different projects in the development sector. And in my career and my work, women empowerment from the economic perspective is one of the objectives and the goals in different projects I worked with. And I think the best for my side to do is to give you insights or highlighting a recent project that I just worked on, and I was honored and proud to work on She Trades Egypt project. She Trades, if you go on the website, I can even write it in the chat. It's an international movement started from the ITC, International Trade Center, the UN agency in Geneva. It's empowering and supporting women in trade and SMEs owned by women in different sectors all over the world, from different projects implemented in different countries in different sectors. Focus on enabling women in trade and export, helping them with expertise needed, market access, and different perspectives. I was honored to lead one of these projects of She Trades in Egypt. It was focusing on the handicraft sector, and it was one of the best projects I worked with, because of actually I will not say because of project itself, but I will say because of the beneficiaries and project participants, which was 50 women owning their SMEs in the handicraft sector in Egypt. They gathered for a couple of years. We worked together to learn and get knowledge about how to improve their businesses, how to better trade, how to export, how to understand the markets and trends and different business support functions. So the best thing of this project is the inspiration and the spirit of the ladies joined the project. Whenever you go to a project, you have in the beginning objectives, outcomes, and outputs that are all like planned and proposed from the very beginning. And during the project or after the project, you try to measure these outcomes and to see what has been achieved. And the best thing for this project, in my point of view, that I saw other outcomes that were not planned and were not proposed already happened consequently because of this spirit of the ladies in the project. The best is that they were gathered, they were working together, supporting each other. Even the project is done, but they are still in touch. They are having dynamics in the group. They are supporting each other. I see like individuals become together as like one cluster or one consortium, one teamwork. And I think this is the outcome that each project doesn't count or not planned, but it's always something that coming because of the humanity and the human reaction. And in the case of She Trades Egypt, I saw that after 2 years, this group become together as one team. So for what is next, I think I will continue with this project, and we will love to continue with this group. And there will be another phase for the project coming. But also we are looking forward to connect and collaborate with other projects and what other organizations that are interested to interact and to meet with this wonderful group. So I will love to connect them with you and with other platforms, other projects, and looking forward to have this group involved with your wonderful platform in a way or another, even at least sharing experiences and stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for shedding such insight with us. It's actually very inspiring to hear. I think that it's very important that to recognize that being an ally is something that we have to do ongoing, and there is a lot more that we all can do to promote gender equality and create a more inclusive society for us. And as a male ally, I applaud what you do, especially you cited in your company as well, in your organization. Male allies have an important role to play in challenging the harmful stereotypes and behaviors that contribute to gender inequality, both in our personal lives and in the community. And inequality is something that we face in the Western world. In Africa, it's a lot, and part of it is due to cultural differences. So I really want to thank you for lending your voice and being part of the event, being listening to our stories, and we hope that you are inspired to continue to do your good work. Thank you. So what are your thoughts or takeaways from this event? Lady T, I'd like to start with you.
Well, truly, as I stated, there's no place on earth where women are created equal as it relates to laws. Laws are sexist, policies, and it's impacted. I don't care where you are. I don't care what your ethnicity is, your gender identity. These are things that are enshrined within laws. But the commonality today, you've done yet another phenomenal job. I know last year we talked about allyship quite a bit, and I know Anya was here for that. But the commonality that women truly are the engine of progress, and it has a lot of intersectionalities, yes. And I'm so glad that hearing the thread of women being that commonality for progress, rather we look at it from an equity standpoint or equality standpoint, it's we really have to tackle gender biases that's in the media, gender biases that's in sports. I also love your panelist who is a previous professional sports person, but the mindset is so critical. It's not your situation, it's your reaction to it. And lastly, as it relates to all things related to gender barriers, equity, equality, and inclusiveness, is this: when you look around and you don't see any hope, you're the hope. And I'm so proud of the younger generation, because the generation before me, they were the generation who started breaking down the glass ceiling. And the generation, the post millennials, they breaking down the buildings, because they're kicking them down and coming in saying, listen, we need to be heard, and we are more self-aware about what's going on with these challenges. So thank you so much, Joy, yet again, for another wonderful virtual event.
So thank you so much. I have to kind of ditto, Lady T, in terms of this has been such a wonderful, wonderful event. Thank you for the opportunity to connect us with so many amazing women and men alike. Because I think these sort of forums are a great opportunity to get inspired by each other. So one of the main takeaways I can say is the inspiration that I feel and the positive energy that I feel after hearing all these amazing women and gentlemen as well. I feel very hopeful. As much as, we do, or I understand per se, the challenges that lie ahead in terms of, treading forward in breaking gender barriers, in excelling in whatever it is that we, pursue. Like in our case, myself and I know Omu, we work in the services field here in Africa. And I think, breaking those gender barriers is a challenge. But I think looking at the opportunities that lie ahead, looking at the how powerful women can be as well when we stand together, hand in hand, we complement each other. Seeing how many women are in different sectors. I mean, I've heard several of the women talk about how they've, been very active in sports. I myself here in Egypt, I'm between Egypt and the United States. So I've done a lot of activities, organizing events, promoting different athletes here in Egypt. We're trying to actually introduce winter sports and support winter sports teams. I had the honor and opportunity to work with Hassan and also with Amir with different projects here in Egypt in empowering women. And meeting, of course, Omu along the way, and meeting, of course, Joi through the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit. Really, again, coming across so many amazing women have given me this, motivation to tread forward. I believe, to be honest, that women are worth it. Not just speaking as a woman, but being the mother of a beautiful daughter who, has her master's degree as a BCBA. So she assesses children with autism. And also, I believe that Africa is worth it. Living in this, having my family come from this continent and living here since 2016. I believe that we, not just the breadbasket of the world, but I believe that Africa sort of began civilization. And I believe that, Africa will play a big role in kind of leading the world through these difficult economic ties. my heart goes out, of course, to the people of the Ukraine and all those people suffering from, war and from any kind of injustice. I believe that there is hope out there, and I'm really, like I said, hands to the sky that God will, take, how should I say, make the situation better for the people and lessen their suffering. And again, thank you so much to everyone, and I hope that we can meet physically soon. And thanks again, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Joy. So my main takeaway, as ladies mentioned, I feel so much energy and inspiration from all the amazing panelists that I feel like I have the energy to move forward, to keep pushing, to keep fighting for women's rights, for human rights, and to make the world a better place. So that's a very great panel, and we need to do more of this educational panels, because these kind of conversations, discussions are inspirational for women. And I'm also happy to see allies speaking on behalf of women and showing their support. That means a lot for us women globally as well. And the quote that Lady T mentioned, women are the engine of the progress. I truly believe that. That's one of my favorite phrases, quotes in life. And I also tell everybody, and especially younger generation women, that there is no place in the world that a woman does not belong to. If a woman wants to do something, she puts her heart and mind to it, she can do anything in the whole world. So thank you so much again for giving me an opportunity to speak, to meet these wonderful ladies, and continue our great work.
Omu is joining us from Nigeria. And Omu, that was a great presentation you made. A lot to unpack from this session. The floor is yours.
Yes. Thanks. A lot to unpack. I'll start by quoting something that Malala said. She says, "I raise my voice not so I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. We cannot succeed when half of us are held back." And that said, I still am of the impression that there are millions of women who wish to have these conversations, but don't know how to juggle it in their head, don't even know how to speak up. So in being voices for them, we should also be a support system for them. And when I talk about women and gender generally, I'm very careful not to be African, Asian, white, or black. Otherwise, we are replicating what we are complaining about in our gender. So by the time we get this gender equality, women, as we all, even when we're equal, we're bickering. So when we get this gender equality, it will now be women against women. We need not fight amongst ourselves. So it will be women to women, and it will be black or white women, Hispanic or Asian or whatever. And so I try to approach each person as a human being, as an individual, and that way the world will generally be a better place. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. We're clapping for you on the back end. All right, now we have Amina Atairu, who's joining us from Nigeria.
I just want to say thank you very much to all the women. I mean, Lady T, Dr.Lulu, talking about Aria, everything you guys have said so far, it has really inspired me. And I just told myself, you know what, Amina, you're not in the wrong profession. Because I just kept asking myself, oh, how am I going to get this woman? How am I going to get, more people to actually listen to what you all have said here? When Dr. Lulu was talking about the LGBT community, I said, in our country, Nigeria, it's hard for you to come out and talk about it. They will crucify you before you even start on the digital space. And there's a need to talk about that, because for me, it helps our mental health. I know a lot of people that are at the verge of committing suicide. I mean, that is the series I am dealing with right now. People are scared to come out, and they just feel that they are not enough. And nobody is coming out to say you are enough. It's okay to be who you are. And for me, the media can play a very strong, role in that. I'm currently collaborating with some associations in northern Nigeria to fight child marriage because it's still very strong there, gender-based violence, and girl child education. Trying to break into most of this religious circle because those are the people that you could use, to advocate for these things. In the north, the way they clamp down on girls is alarming. You can't say anything. You're not allowed to come out. So the few people who can actually come out, you find out that they're having issues in their marriage one way or the other. The man is not even supporting. The next minute they tell you I'm a single woman. So for me, there's so much that we need to do. I would love a physical collaboration. Joy, I would love a physical collaboration in terms of speaking, talking about the issue in Ukraine. I must say my condolence goes to, and my heart support goes to the girls in Ukraine, the women in Ukraine, because I know there is a sexual abuse. I mean, most of the reports that we see have the time because most of either the pediatricians or the support team that they come in from some of these NGO, they use those platforms to try to abuse girls. I think that we need to have more women in a lot of fields because it is easy for women to fight on behalf of another woman. And so we need to start giving people opportunity regardless of education. I don't think we should even look at education right now, educational qualification. We should look at competence. Because when we look at competence and, your heart, what you're willing to do, I think we're really going to have more women out there fighting a cause. I mean, I always tell myself, because of a lot of things I've gone through, I always say, for every time I stand for myself as a media executive, which is, I'm into advertising, marketing, sales and all that. I say, for every time I say no to a man to an advance, I am saying no for a lot of women out there. And I have some girls, some ladies who ask me, Amina, how do you do it? I said, well, I tell them that, come, let's talk as guy. Don't see me as a woman. I'm a guy. So I try to come down to their level, and when they listen to me, sometimes they just go like, oh no, you are too alpha for my liking. I said, yeah, that's how I was created. So I am so grateful for this platform. I want us to have more. Joey talked about her NGO. I want to be part of that NGO, the person-to-person one that you're doing right now that you set up in Abuja. I am glad for this platform, and thank you to the men who came here to also, speak and support us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amina. That was great. I do hope you feel better soon. It took a lot of sacrifice for you to jump on, and you stayed with us all through it. So I'm sending you cyber hugs and I pray that you get well soon. And to all our allies who have been here with us, I say thank you. Thank you for continuing to amplify our voices. To those who are watching us or possibly watching the replay, thank you for your time. You could have been anywhere else on any other page, but you took out time. And I will say this, if you are a man, well, I have a very supportive husband, and that has helped me grow. It makes me, so we want to identify the men in our lives who are there to support us. And if you find yourself alone, stand alone, but still help amplify the voice of the woman next to you. I hear women don't help women. In some cases, women don't support women. In some cases, it's the women that actually shut the door in your face. But we do have supportive ladies in our communities who are there. Lady T is one of, I don't know how to describe her. She's just amazing, but one of my strongest support pillars. And she's been there time after time. She's there to help. So let us contribute. Help the next lady down the ladder to rise. That's also a way, too, that you can help this issue of gender inequality. Last words from you?
Yes. Oh, my goodness. This was extraordinarily well put together and on point with a lot of the issues that women face globally. Yes, I do agree. Welcome the chance to do a session or your next one on rural women, because agriculture is the largest employer of the world. And I want to really salute you, Joy, for being very inclusive I know right now I'm highlighting the MENA area with a lot of engagement as it relates to conflicts, crises, COVID, and looking at how to engage with more people of African descent. So thank you again. Don't forget that women are truly the engine of progress. I can't say that enough. And lastly, we have two hands. One hand to hold on to something that we believe in, that we're working on, that we're making an impact with. And we have the other hand where we can bring someone with us or throw someone ahead of us. And thank you, Joi, for always doing that. So it's been a pleasure, and all the best to everyone. And thank you to our allies. We need men allies because we can't do it alone. I know we're half the population, but we need that other half too. Thank you.
All right. So on that note, I'd like to say a very big thank you for making out time to be with us today. And we'll do more of this again. My email address is in, and Person to Person Africa is on Instagram. We're also on Facebook. If you would like to support or need us to also help amplify what you do, please reach out as well. On this note, I say good night from here.
This event is supported by Belcrest Luxury Suites. Located in Abuja, the Nigerian capital, Belcrest Luxury Suites offers affordable accommodation. Our cozy rooms and friendly staff will make you feel right at home. Plus, with our prime location, you'll have easy access to all the best local attractions in town. Rooms start at just 25,000 Naira. Find us on travel booking websites such as booking.com or call +234 909 099 4490.